The stars shone like tiny diamonds against the blackness of space. The Federation ship Celestial Explorer moved slowly through the empty area between star systems. The ship was on a routine survey mission in a remote part of the Andromeda Galaxy. Nothing exciting had happened for weeks. Alan Brooks sat at his station on the bridge, checking sensor readings with practiced eyes. As the chief science officer, he had been on hundreds of missions just like this one. His gray hair and the lines on his face showed his many years of experience. Alan was ready to file another boring report when a small light began to flash on his console. "Captain, I'm picking up something unusual," Alan said, leaning forward to study the readings more carefully. "There's an object floating in space about 10,000 kilometers ahead." Captain Eric Barnes walked over to Alan's station. "Natural or artificial?" "Definitely artificial," Alan replied. "Perfect geometric shape. It's a cube, completely black, approximately 2 meters on each side." "Any energy readings?" the captain asked. "Nothing significant," Alan said. "It's just ... floating there." The captain thought for a moment. "Lisa, take us closer." Standard approach. Protocol. Lisa Miller, the junior science officer, nodded and adjusted their course. At 28, Lisa was the newest member of the science team. Her enthusiasm made up for her lack of experience. She moved her hands quickly over the controls, bringing the ship within visual range of the object. On the main screen, the crew saw the cube for the first time. It was perfectly black, seeming to absorb the light around it. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing with a faint blue light. "I've never seen anything like it," Alan whispered. No one else spoke. They all stared at the mysterious object. "Begin standard scanning procedures," the captain ordered after a moment. Lisa entered the commands, initiating level 1 scan. The moment the scan beam touched the cube, it pulsed once. The pulse was barely visible, a slight wave of darker black across its surface. Suddenly, all the lights on the bridge dimmed. The ship's engines made a strange sound and stopped. Emergency lights came on as backup systems activated. "What just happened?" the captain demanded. "Some kind of feedback pulse," Alan said, checking his now functioning console. "It disabled our main systems temporarily. Backups are working fine." "Did we get any data from the scan?" the captain asked. Lisa looked surprised as she stared at her screen. "Sir, look at this." The main screen changed to show a simple message written in perfect. "Galactic Standard. Humanity Starter Kit. Warning. Contents volatile." "Humanity?" Lisa read aloud. "I've never heard of them." Alan shook his head. "Neither have I, and I've studied most known species in the Federation database." The captain tapped his communication badge. "Captain Barnes to Federation Central Command. Priority channel." The screen changed to show the face of Counselor Peter Johnson. His blue skin and 3 eyes marked him as a Trilaxian, one of the founding species of the Federation. "Captain Barnes, what's your situation?" "Counselor, we've discovered an artificial object in Sector 7G. It appears to be some kind of container or data storage device from an unknown species called humans. When we attempted to scan it, it temporarily disabled our systems." "Counselor." Johnson's expression grew serious. "Send us your coordinates and full sensor logs. Do not approach the object further. Hold position and wait for instructions." 3 hours later, the bridge crew watched as a high-level Federation Council meeting took place on their main screen. 12 representatives from different species debated what to do with the mysterious cube. "We should destroy it immediately," said military advisor Susan Wright, a stern woman with short blonde hair. She was one of the few humans on the Federation. "Council, unknown technology that can disable our systems is a clear security risk." "That would be a tremendous waste," argued Science Director Ben Murphy. "This could be first contact with a previously unknown species. The scientific value alone, if they're so advanced that they can create technology that disrupts our systems with a simple pulse, why haven't we encountered them before? Asked Trade Minister Greg Wilson. Perhaps they are from another galaxy, suggested diplomatic envoy Carol Martinez. Or maybe they are extinct, and this is all that remains of their civilization. Counselor Johnson raised his hand for silence. We must proceed with caution, but also with scientific curiosity. That is the Federation way. He turned to face the camera. Captain Barnes, you are to transport this object to the secure research facility on Nexus Prime. Use a Class 3 containment field at all times. Do not attempt further scans or interactions with the object. The captain nodded. Understood, Counselor. After the transmission ended, Lisa looked at Alan with excitement in her eyes. Can you believe it? We might have discovered a completely new species. Alan nodded slowly. Yes, but remember the warning on the cube. Contents volatile. We should be careful what we wish for. The journey to Nexus Prime took 3 weeks. During that time, the cube remained inactive in the ship's most secure containment area. Alan checked on it daily, but it showed no signs of activity. The symbols continued to glow faintly, but nothing else happened. When they reached Nexus Prime, a team of scientists in protective suits boarded the ship. They transferred the cube to a special container and took it down to the planet's surface. I wish we could go with it, Lisa said as they watched the shuttle depart. We've done our part. Alan replied. Now it's up to the research team. 6 days later, Alan received a message from his old friend Kevin Garrett, the lead scientist at the Nexus Prime facility. The message was brief. You wouldn't believe what we found. This humanity starter kit contains complete biological templates, cultural records, and technological data from an entire civilization. The Federation Council has classified everything at the highest level. They're letting us try to activate some of the biological samples under strict containment. I'll update you when I can. Alan stared at the message for a long time before deleting. It has security protocols required. As the Celestial Explorer headed toward its next assignment, he couldn't shake the feeling that the Federation had just opened something that would change everything. For better or worse, their curiosity had gotten the better of them. The research facility on Nexus Prime was built deep underground. Its white walls and bright lights made it look clean and safe. But the facility was designed to contain the most dangerous things in the galaxy. And now it held the mysterious black. Cube Dot for 3 months, the best scientists in the Federation studied the cube. They took pictures of the strange symbols. They tried to scan what was inside. They even tried to make small cuts into its surface. Nothing worked. The cube remained closed, and Silent Kevin Garrett was getting frustrated. As lead scientist, he felt responsible for solving the puzzle. He was a tall man with tired eyes and messy brown hair. He hadn't slept well in weeks. We've tried everything, he said to his team during their daily meeting. Any new ideas? The room was quiet until Nancy Garcia raised her hand. She was young and new to the team, but very smart. What if the symbols aren't just decoration? What if they're buttons or a code? Kevin looked interested. Go on. Well, I've been studying the patterns. Some symbols appear more often than others, and they seem to be arranged in groups of 7. Nancy showed them her notes. What if we press them in a certain order? Frank Taylor, the team's geneticist, looked worried. Is that safe? Remember what happened to the ship that found it. We'll take precautions, Kevin decided. Full containment protocols. If anything happens, we evacuate immediately. The next day, they were ready to try Nancy's idea. Everyone wore protective suits. Security guards stood by the doors. Kevin approached. the cube with a special tool designed to touch the symbols without human contact. "Here goes nothing," he said. He pressed the symbols in the order Nancy had suggested. Nothing happened. "Try a different pattern," Nancy suggested. "Maybe reverse it?" Kevin tried again. Still nothing. After 2 hours of trying different combinations, Kevin was ready to give up. "One last try," he said. He pressed the 7 most common symbols in order from most frequent to least. The cube made a soft humming sound. Then, slowly, its top surface began to change. A solid black material seemed to flow like water. It folded back on itself, revealing the inside of the cube. "It worked," Nancy exclaimed. Everyone moved closer to see. Inside the cube were several compartments. Each held different items, small crystal-like objects, sealed containers with biological material, and what looked like data storage devices. "Amazing," Kevin whispered. "It's like a time capsule from this humanity species." Over the next few days, the team carefully removed and studied each item. Nancy focused on the data crystals. She figured out how to connect them to Federation computers. What she found was incredible. These crystals contain history records. She told the team, "They show the entire history of a species called humans. They lived on a planet called Earth in a galaxy far from here." The team gathered around her screen to watch. They saw images of human history, great cities, terrible wars, beautiful art, and amazing technology. They saw humans helping each other and humans hurting each other. "They're so complex," Nancy said. "Look how they keep building things, then destroying them, then building again." While Nancy studied the history records, Frank examined the biological samples. He found they contained human DNA, the blueprint for making human bodies. "These samples are designed to self-replicate under certain conditions," Frank explained to Kevin. "They could actually grow new humans if placed in the right environment. That's why it's called a starter kit," Kevin realized. It contains everything needed to restart human civilization. Security Chief William Collins wasn't happy about this news. "These samples should be kept frozen," he insisted. "We don't know if these humans would be dangerous." Kevin agreed, and the biological samples were placed in special freezers with multiple locks. But later that night, something went wrong. The facility experienced a power fluctuation. It only lasted a few seconds, but it affected the freezer controls. The temperature inside changed to exactly the right condition to activate the samples. By the time anyone noticed, it was too late. The samples had already started growing at an amazing speed. Frank was called to the lab in the middle of the night. He couldn't believe what he saw. The small samples had grown into embryos, baby humans, in the earliest stage. "This is impossible," he said. "This growth would take months, not hours." Kevin called an emergency meeting with the Federation Council. The holographic images of council members appeared in the lab. They looked shocked when they saw the growing embryos. "Terminate them immediately," ordered military advisor Susan Wright. "This is a security breach." "We can't do that," said Daniel White, the head ethicist of the Federation. He was an older man with kind eyes and a gentle voice. "These are now living beings. Our laws protect all forms of life." "They're not natural life forms," Susan argued. "They were created from samples in a box." "So are many of our citizens," Daniel replied. "Many Federation species use artificial reproduction. That doesn't make them less alive or less deserving of rights." The debate lasted for hours. In the end, the council voted to allow the humans to continue developing, but under strict controls. The facility would be converted into a special habitat. The humans would live there, never leaving, while the Federation studied them. "We need to understand what we've unleashed," Counselor Johnson said. "These humans could be valuable allies or dangerous enemies. We need to know which." Over the next 6 months, the embryos continued to grow at an incredible speed. The scientists realized the starter kit contained special technology that made this possible. The humans weren't just growing physically. They were also receiving knowledge directly into their developing brains from the data crystals. By the time they reached adult size, they would already know their own history, language, and basic skills. They would know they were created from a starter kit. They would know they were far from Earth. What they wouldn't know was whether the original humans still existed somewhere in the universe. And they wouldn't know that the Federation had no intention of ever letting them leave. Nexus Prime. As Kevin watched the rapidly growing humans, he wondered if the warning on the cube, "Contents volatile," referred to the biological samples, or to something else about human nature that the Federation was about to discover. 6 months had passed since the human embryos began growing. The underground research facility on Nexus Prime had been completely changed. What was once a series of cold labs and storage rooms was now a small community. The humans needed places to live, eat, and spend their time. Mary Jones watched the humans on her screens. As observation director, she spent her days studying their behavior. Mary was good at her job. She had studied many different alien species, but these humans fascinated her the most. "They act like they've known each other for years," she said to her assistant, "but they've only been fully grown for 3 weeks." There were 37 humans in total, 19 females and 18 males. They ranged in age from what looked like 20 to 40 years old. Each one had come from the biological samples in the cube. Each one had grown with knowledge directly placed into their minds from the data crystals. Mary checked her notes about the human designated as their leader. His name was John Cooper. He was tall with dark hair and a calm way of speaking that made others listen to him. He had been the first to ask to speak with Federation representatives. Today was the day for their first official meeting. Mary adjusted her uniform and went to the special meeting room. It had been designed with a clear barrier down the middle. Humans on one side, Federation representatives on the other. Everyone could see and hear each other, but no physical contact was allowed. John Cooper was already waiting when Mary arrived. He stood when she entered. A gesture she had learned was a sign of respect in human culture. "Director Jones," he said with a slight smile, "thank you for agreeing to meet with me." "Thank you for your patience, Mr. Cooper," Mary replied. She sat down and placed her data pad on the table. "How are you and the others adjusting?" "We're doing well, considering the unusual circumstances." John sat too. "We understand our situation. We know we're not the original humans from Earth. We're copies, created from what you call the starter kit." Mary was surprised by his directness. "Yes, that's correct. Does that bother you?" John thought for a moment. "It's strange to have memories of a planet we've never actually seen, to know a history we didn't live through. But we've accepted it. Now we want to know what happens next." Before Mary could answer, more Federation representatives entered the room. Among them was Edward Martinez, the Federation psychologist assigned to study human mental and emotional responses. He was a short man with a friendly face. "Good morning," Edward said to John. "I hope you don't mind if I join the conversation." "Not at all," John replied. "The more the merrier, as we humans like to say." The meeting lasted for 3 hours. John asked many questions about the Federation, how many species were part of it, how it was governed, what its values were. He answered just as many questions about humans, their biology, their social structures, their technologies. "You seem very comfortable with this exchange of information," Edward noted. "Why wouldn't I be?" John asked. "We want to learn about you. And you clearly want to learn about us. Seems fair to trade knowledge." After the meeting, Mary and Edward discussed their impressions with the other Federation scientists. There, Adapting remarkably well, Edward said. No sign of identity crisis or existential distress. They've simply accepted their reality and are moving forward. It's their problem-solving abilities that impress me, said Linda Wilson, the cultural exchange officer. Linda had been working with several humans who showed interest in Federation art and music. They look at our technology and immediately find new ways to use it. Richard Harris, the security administrator, wasn't as positive. They're too curious. 3 of them tried to access restricted computer systems yesterday. They said they were just exploring, but I'm concerned. Over the next few weeks, the humans were given more access to Federation knowledge and limited Federation technology. They learned quickly and often surprised their observers with creative solutions to problems. One day, a group of humans asked to hear music from different Federation species. Linda arranged a special concert with recordings from 12 different worlds. The humans listened carefully to each piece. A week later, the humans put on their own concert. They played instruments they had made themselves, combining designs from Earth with Federation materials. The music they created blended human melodies with alien harmonies in ways no one had heard before. Many Federation staff were deeply moved by the performance. Their art reaches across species barriers, Linda told Mary afterward. It makes you feel things even when you don't understand the words they're singing. Not everyone was comfortable with how quickly the humans were integrating Federation knowledge. Some worried that the humans were learning too much, too fast. These concerns grew when a conflict broke out between 2 Federation species on Nexus Prime. The Vordans and Naxites had been trading partners for centuries, but a recent dispute over mining rights had led to heated arguments and threats. To everyone's surprise, John Cooper offered to help solve the problem. At first, the Federation officials refused. This was an internal matter. But after 3 days with no progress, they reluctantly agreed to let John try. John met with representatives from both sides. He knew nothing about their history or the details of their conflict. But that turned out to be an advantage. He asked simple questions that made both sides explain their positions clearly. He found common ground that Federation mediators had missed. Within 2 days, the Vordans and Naxites reached an agreement. They were both satisfied with the solution John had helped them find. How did you do that? Mary asked John afterward. Sometimes you need an outsider's perspective, John explained. Someone who isn't caught up in old grudges or traditions. Humans are good at adapting and finding new approaches. It's in our nature. The success of John's mediation changed how many in the Federation viewed the humans. They began to see potential benefits to having humans as part of their society. Some even suggested that the humans could eventually be allowed to leave Nexus Prime and travel to other Federation worlds, but others remained cautious. A closed-door meeting of the Federation Council discussed the human situation with mixed opinions. They're proving themselves to be valuable, said one council member. They're proving themselves to be unpredictable, countered another. Counselor Johnson made the final decision. The humans will remain on Nexus Prime for further observation. A complete assessment of their potential impact on our society must be done before we consider integrating them. This process may take decades. When Mary told John the Council's decision, she expected him to be disappointed. Instead, he simply nodded. I understand, he said. The Federation needs to be careful. After all, the cube did come with a warning. Contents volatile. Mary couldn't tell if his calm acceptance was genuine, or if something else was going on behind those thoughtful human eyes. The humans had lived in the Nexus Prime facility for almost a year now. They had their own living spaces, work areas, and even a small garden where they grew plants from seeds found in the cube. To many Federation staff, it seemed like the humans were content with their situation, but John Cooper and the other humans wanted more. They would sit together in the evenings, and talk about the stars they had never seen with their own eyes. They had memories of Earth's night sky from the data crystals, but they wanted to see the skies of this galaxy. "We can't stay here forever," John told his close friend Samantha Hill one evening. Samantha was smart with machines and technology. She had learned Federation tech systems faster than any other human. "The Federation won't let us leave," Samantha replied. "They're still afraid of what we might do." "Then we need to change their minds," John said, "or find another way." Stephen. Carter walked through the halls of the facility with mixed feelings. As head of human affairs, he spent more time with the humans than any other Federation official. He had grown to like them, especially John Cooper. Stephen found himself thinking of the humans less as study subjects and more as people. Today, Stephen was bringing news he didn't want to share. He had just come from a high-level Federation meeting where they had discussed the future of the human population. John welcomed Stephen into the human community area. "You look troubled," John said. Stephen sighed. "The Federation Council has made a new decision about your situation. They feel that unrestricted population growth would create too many unknowns. They want to limit how many children you can have." John's face showed no emotion, but his voice was tight when he spoke. "They want to control our reproduction? For how long?" "Until they complete their assessment, which could take decades," John finished. "You're talking about controlling our most basic right for decades." Stephen looked down. "I'm sorry. I argued against it, but I was outvoted." After Stephen left, John called a private meeting with 5 humans he trusted most: Samantha Hill, George Martinez, Paul Wright, Karen Lois, and Beth Anderson. They met in the garden, where Federation monitoring was limited. "We need to leave," John told them. "The Federation will never see us as equals. They'll always see us as an experiment to control." "But how?" Karen asked. "The security here is too strong." George smiled slightly. "Maybe not as strong as they think. I've been studying their systems. With Samantha's help, I think we could find a way out." "Even if we escape this facility, where would we go?" Beth wondered. "We have no ship, no place in this galaxy." "Actually," Paul said quietly, "we might have help." They all looked at him with surprise. Paul explained that one of the Federation scientists, Lara Robinson, had approached him privately. She believed the treatment of humans was wrong and against true Federation values. She was willing to help them. Over the next month, they made careful plans. Samantha and George worked on the security systems. Paul kept in contact with Lara. John made sure the other humans were ready. Karen and Beth gathered supplies they would need. The day of the maintenance cycle came. This was when the facility's main systems were checked and updated. It happened every 3 months, and it was their best chance. Samantha sat at a computer console in the human work area. She had been given limited access to help with data processing, but she had secretly created a program that would do much more. With George watching for guards, she activated the program. For 3 minutes. All the cameras and sensors in the facility showed normal activity, but it was just a loop of recorded footage. In reality, the 37 humans were moving quickly. Through the halls toward the research vessel. Lara Robinson was waiting for them. "Hurry," she said, opening the door to a medium-sized research ship. "We don't have much time." The humans boarded quickly and quietly. Lara had already prepared the ship for launch. She had packed extra supplies and programmed a course to take them far from Federation space. "Thank you for helping us," John told Lara as they prepared for launch. "The Federation has forgotten its own values," Lara replied. "Exploration and peaceful contact should not mean imprisonment and control." Just as the last human boarded, alarms began to sound. The security systems had detected the loop in the camera feed. "We need to go now," Lara said, rushing to the pilots' seat. The dock doors were beginning to close. Lavra fired the engines at full power. The research vessel shot forward, barely making it through the narrowing gap. Several Federation security ships were already in pursuit. "They're locking weapons on us," George reported from the sensor station. "Everyone hold on," Lavra called out. She pushed the ship to its maximum speed, heading for the edge of the Nexus. Samantha worked quickly at another console. "I can modify our engine signature," she said. "Make us look like a different kind of ship." George joined her. "And I can disable their tracking systems. Just give me access to the communication." Array. While they worked, Federation ships fired warning shots around their vessel. A voice came over the communication system. "Research Vessel Horizon, this is Fleet Admiral Joseph Scott. Return to Nexus Prime immediately, or we will be forced to take action." John took a deep breath and responded. "Admiral Scott, this is John Cooper. We are not your prisoners or your experiments. We are living beings with rights to freedom and self-determination. We mean no harm to the Federation, but we will not return to captivity." The Admiral's voice hardened. "Cooper, you don't understand the complexities of this situation. You could pose unknown risks to established species. Return now, and I promise fair treatment." "We've heard promises before," John replied. "We're making our own path now." He turned off the communication system and looked at Lavra. "How much farther to the jump point?" 2 minutes, she said, focused on piloting through the weapons fire. Samantha looked up from her console. "Engine signature modified. They'll be looking for the wrong energy pattern. And their tracking systems are scrambled," George added. "They won't be able to follow us once we make the jump." A ship shook as a shot grazed their shields. Lavra made a sharp turn, then accelerated toward the jump point, the place where they could enter faster than light travel. "Jump point in." 10 seconds, Lavra announced. "Everyone secure yourselves." The humans held on to whatever was nearby as the ship prepared to jump. 3.2. Bing now. The stars stretched into lines of light around them. The Federation ships fell, away behind them. They had escaped. Hours later, when they were safely away, the humans gathered in the ship's common area. They had done it. They were free. "Where are we going?" Karen asked. "The Cygnus sector," Lavra told them. "It's largely unexplored. The Federation has mapped it, but hasn't established contact with the civilizations there." John looked out at the stars passing by. "Then we'll be the first," he said. "Maybe that's our purpose, not to be studied, but to be explorers. To build something new." Lavra smiled. "The Federation won't stop looking for us." "Let them look," John replied. "By the time they find us, we'll be something they never expected." 3 years passed. The Federation classified the escape of the humans as a closed incident. New rules were created about handling unknown artifacts. Most people believed the humans had died in the uncharted regions of space. After all, how could 37 humans and 1 Federation scientist survive on their own? The Federation border outpost called Sentinel-9 floated in space at the edge of explored territory. It was a quiet posting. Nothing exciting ever happened there. Commander Elizabeth Parker sat in her office reviewing routine reports. She was halfway through her shift when the alarm sounded. "Commander to the control room immediately," a voice called over the speakers. Elizabeth hurried to the control room. The staff looked tense. "What's happening?" she asked. "Ships approaching, Commander," reported Officer Ryan Green. 17. Vessels of unknown design. 17? Elizabeth was shocked. That was a large fleet. Origin? Unknown. They're coming from the Cygnus sector. Ryan checked his screen again. Design appears to be a mix of Federation technology and unknown elements. "Battle stations," Elizabeth ordered. raise shields, and prepare defensive measures. Before anyone could act, all the screens in the control room changed. The computer announced, "System override in progress." "How is this possible?" Elizabeth demanded. "Our security protocols are being bypassed," Ryan said, typing frantically. "They're using Federation command codes that shouldn't exist." On every screen appeared the face of a man with dark hair. He had a scar across his left cheek that hadn't been there 3 years ago. But Elizabeth recognized him immediately from the security briefings. "John Cooper," she whispered. "Greetings." "Commander Parker," John said with a slight smile. "Please don't be alarmed. We come in peace." Elizabeth tried to appear calm. "Mr. Cooper, the Federation has been looking for you for 3 years. I know. And now we found you." John's image zoomed out to show he was standing on the bridge of a ship. Behind him were humans and several alien beings Elizabeth had never seen before. "What do you want?" Elizabeth asked. "To talk," John replied. "We represent something new. We call ourselves the Alliance." Over the next hour, John explained what had happened after they escaped. The humans had traveled to the Cygnus sector and discovered 12 different intelligent species living there. Some were advanced, others were still developing. All were isolated from each other, either by distance or by conflict. The humans had done what came naturally to them. They made contact, built relationships, and connected these different civilizations. With their unique perspective as outsiders, they helped resolve ancient conflicts and create new partnerships. "We found our purpose," John explained, "not as an experiment or as refugees, but as bridges between different worlds." Elizabeth was skeptical. "And these species just accepted you? Trusted you?" "Not at first," John admitted. "But humans are adaptable. We learn quickly. We listen. And we have something special. We understand what it's like to be both insiders and outsiders at the same time." The screen showed images of human ambassadors working with various alien species. It showed joint settlements and shared technology. It showed the fleet they had built together, ships that combined the best ideas from many different worlds. "We're not here to fight the Federation," John continued. "We're here to offer an alliance, equal partners sharing knowledge and resources. We can be the bridge between the Federation and the Cygnus civilizations." Elizabeth didn't have the authority to negotiate with them. She sent a priority message to Federation Central Command. Within hours, a special session of the Federation Council was connected to Sentinel-9 via secure transmission. Federation President Diane Miller addressed John directly. She was a stern woman with gray hair and a no-nonsense attitude. "Mr. Cooper, your actions 3 years ago were illegal. You stole Federation property and violated multiple security protocols." "With respect, Madam President," John replied, "we did not consider ourselves or our freedom to be Federation property." President Miller frowned. "Regardless, you now return with an alien fleet on our border. Some might consider this an act of aggression." "If we wanted aggression, we wouldn't be talking," John said calmly. "We're here to build something better than what either of us has." Alone, the council debated for hours. Some wanted to demand the humans return to Federation control. Others saw potential benefits in this new alliance. The alien species from Cygnus had technologies the Federation had never seen. The humans had somehow united peoples who had been separate for thousands of years. Federation historian Eric Davidson spoke up during the debate. "I find this situation deeply ironic," he said. "We opened the Humanities Starter Kit expecting to control and study a new species. Instead, they've gone out and done exactly what the warning label suggested. They've been volatile. They've changed everything they've touched." President Miller called for a vote. It was close, but the council finally decided to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Alliance. The humans would not be required to return to Federation control. Instead, they would serve as official ambassadors between the two galactic powers. John Cooper became the first human ambassador to the Federation. When he presented his credentials to President Miller, she had one question for him. Was this your plan all along, Mr. Cooper? From the moment you were ... created? John thought for a moment before answering. Not exactly. But the data crystals from Earth showed us something important about humans. They explore, they adapt, and they connect things. That's what we did. That's what we'll keep doing. In the years that followed, the Alliance and Federation grew closer. Trade routes opened between Federation worlds and Cygnus civilizations. Cultural exchanges brought new ideas to both societies. The humans served as translators and mediators when misunderstandings arose. One day, Eric Davidson visited John in his new office on the Joint Alliance-Federation space station. You know, Eric said, some in the Federation still regret opening that cube. John smiled. And others? Others think it was the best thing that ever happened to us. Eric looked out the window at the ships coming and going from many different worlds. You've changed us, John. Made us question our assumptions. Made us better. That's what humans do, John replied. We change things. Sometimes we break them. But usually, we help rebuild them into something stronger. Eric nodded. The warning on the cube wasn't wrong. Contents volatile, indeed. But sometimes volatile elements are exactly what a system needs to evolve. As John looked out at the stars, he wondered if somewhere the original humans who had sent that cube out into the universe knew what had happened. He hoped they would be proud of what their starter kit had started, not just a new human civilization, but a new understanding between many different kinds of life across the galaxy. The curiosity that had led the Federation to open the cube had indeed gotten the better of them. But in the end, it had gotten the better of everyone.